Thank you.
Counsel,
Yes,
shall I proceed?
you can proceed. Thank you.
So at 1200, Chairperson, is a reflection of the events of 20 June. But we went straight to, 17 June. 17 June. I want us to start there. These are events of 17 June, actually, not 20 June. So, in her testimony, she says, I sent her my private parts with white hairs, and I was standing above a toilet cubicle. What is happening at page 1200 is a mere chart, and I will deal with it, Counsel, when I, on my own, for the sake of expediency, go through these charts with your permission, autopilot or something like that. Yes, but I'm saying the first reference to K8, according to her testimony, is what is said at 1200, which are events that took place on 17 June, according to the testimony. So we have it there as something that occurred on the 20th. Mention is made of K8. Then, closer to what we are talking about, and Counsel, I may have to traverse this within the context of the charts, but I'm dealing with your pertinent question now.
Yes.
1220. 1220 is at page, is 1220 of the exhibits, of exhibit 3. 1220.
It's can I make it easy? It's of volume 3. I think she's got that far. It's volume 3 as well. Yes. It's this one, not our document. It's the downloaded pictures. Thank you. You may proceed, Jim.
Yeah. So what is appearing at page 1220 is what is testified about or testified to in the affidavit that we pointed to, which is paragraph 15. There's just one thing that I want to mention at this point so that there's no confusion. We see from page 1220 that these charts allegedly took place at 2258. See, at 1220, it's 2258. She says she had said bye in her testimony, and then I sent that, and that K8, and then she said Jeso there too. So 2258 is the time. Let me put it like that. But then if one goes to page 50, this creature, page 50.
That is of the consolidated document now. The other one, the file that we gave you this morning. Yes.
Oh, 50, small 50.
Yes.
Yes.
You'll see there's 0905. So, however, this picture was generated, but it's got 0905. Yet it is said to relate to a conversation that took place at 2258. That's just the point I want to make, Counsel, at least for now.
Yes.
This picture at page 50 of this document that has got this alleged private part, page 50.
Yes.
Has got 0905 on the bottom right-hand side. It is said to relate to a conversation that took place on the 20th at 22 hours 58.
May I ask you once again, JP, because this has been probably the biggest headline.
Can I just stop there for a while?
Okay.
I was trying to finalize what you are
Okay.
saying. Or you say yet is said to be related to a conversation.
Yes.
Which conversation?
Let me repeat, Chairperson.
Yeah.
The complaint, paragraph 15, something that we referred to, the complaint, the affidavit setting in motion the complaint about which we are, says something about what allegedly happened at 1220. The conversation is at 2258, according to what appears at page 1220. The conversation is at 1220, and the allegation is that K8, in the midst of what was happening at 1220, in the midst of what was happening at 1220, K8 was transmitted. I'm saying if we go to K8, we see something with 0905 on the bottom right-hand side. So I'm saying when it comes to times, there's an incongruity, apart from all else. The notion I'm developing here is simply that a conversation, it is common cause, took place at 1220, page 1220. This is what the complainant is addressing in her complaint. So that is one version.
And the time there?
The time there is 2258 at 1220, at page 1220. The time is 2258.
You contrast that with the time depicted on small page 50,
Yes,
0905.
It doesn't tie in well. 0905 is clearly in the morning. 2258 is something else. Insofar as, in fact, there is such a thing as page 50. I'm just pointing to a few incongruities or inconsistencies. So we are told about K8 at page 1220. And then the narration is about what happened on the 20th of June. And we see that what was happening was an interaction around 2258, 2259, and so on. Yet reliance is made on a document depicting a picture that bears 0905. That is the only trace on this document as to time frames. We don't know where it comes from. I'm not an expert. There's somebody who testified to this. That's K8. But lo and behold, at page 1220,
Yes, JP?
now what is interesting is what is narrated at 1200 is on another date. What is narrated at 1220 is another date. But K8 seems to be a denominator. So there are two instances when K8 was allegedly transmitted. Now, Chairperson, when I deal on almost a line-by-line basis. When I narrate the story, I will harp on this, but I was simply trying to answer the pertinent question raised by counsel in relation to K8. Just to say this, that at page 32 of the transcript, when she was testifying, she refers to K8.
That's on page 19, JP.
Thank you, counsel. Page 19 of the testimony.
Page 19 of the testimony. Mhm.
Now, page 32, as she narrates events about or around K8, there is reference at page 32 to K8. Now, this is a separate occasion. Then,
JP, you are losing me. You mentioned page 19 and page 32. Which page are we at right now? Don't lose me.
all right, let me first start off by saying the intention is to deal with these annexures and what I'm said to have sent when I deal with the charts on a date-by-date basis. But for now, I'm responding pertinently to a question relating to K8. I am saying,
JP, but I think you've lost my colleague because you're referring to page 32, which is actually page 19.
19.
Yes, I
Of the
think
transcript.
if we're working on this bundle's numbering, then it is page 19 and not 32. Am I correct?
Not what, honorable member?
You referred now to page 32, but I think you mean page
Of the transcript.
19 of the transcript.
Yes. Yes. I'm just saying at page 32, he refers to K8 when she was narrating her story here at the tribunal. So maybe, counsel, with your permission, let me rather on my own narrate the events.
Yes.
But in answer to your question pertinently, K8 features on more than one date. That's all I wanted to convey to
But
you.
what are you referring to? Are you referring to the printed 19 or the written 32? That's what I'm trying to get.
I am talking about page 1200 of Exhibit 3.
Yes, we've got that. But now, what on your bundle? Which page are you referring to?
This bundle of today.
Yes.
No, this bundle does not deal with K8 in the context of the testimony. So, counsel is asking me, tell us about K8. I say I never transmitted K8. I'm trying to demonstrate that K8 features on more than 2 occasions as something that I sent. But perhaps for the sake of convenience, with your permission, counsel, let me rather narrate these facts because somehow.
Let me ask you this, JP. So let's bring this to a halt. If we left the contradictions and how many times it's repeated, what do you say to the accusation that you sent that picture reflected as K8 of your private part or any picture of a part of your body?
Thank you, counsel. I never sent K8. K8 has nothing to do with me. I never sent H1 and H2. I never sent to the complainant exhibits P and exhibit N and any part of my body to her. Any picture of my body to her.
Thank you. Chair, we're going to now move to different sub-themes of the chats. And we're going to use volume 3. The one, yes, that's the one that you had of the pictures. And the dates.
So, sorry, just before we leave this point,
Thank you, Chair.
are you saying that K8 was referenced to in more than one instance?
Yes, yes.
I-
I'm going to demonstrate that.
Yes. And are you also saying that the time at which the time appearing
On K8.
on K8 is not consistent with which time?
With any one of the allegations made by the complainant
About K8.
about K8. Firstly, based on her affidavit, and secondly, based on her testimony when she was here. That is what I will seek to demonstrate.
Yes, no, I got that. I think we are clear with that.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, just for convenience, the sub-themes on the charts we're going to deal with, they are in volume 3, and they will either use the dates or the pages. But they start at page 1156. It's going to be the very first page in that document. To 1181. It's the chart of 8 to 9 June 2021. So that is where I'm going to unleash the witness again on auto cruise.
From which page?
It's the very fair. It's 1156. It starts. The date is 8 June at the top. And JP, I want to ask you this question before we start. Apart from the issues that you've disputed, and I'm not talking about interpretations that have been given by different people here, did the chats, apart from the ones you've disputed, did the chats take place?
The charts as embodied in Exhibit 3, which we'll be journeying through, did take place to the extent that they take us right to page
You don't have to go there, JP.
1270,
That's fine.
page 1275.
Yes.
Are we in the same volume?
Yes.
Exhibit 3.
It's volume 3. It's this.
Okay.
It's not an exhibit. It's volume 3.
Volume 3, thank you.
Okay.
Yes.
Shall I start narrating the story on a theme-by-theme basis?
Yes. Between 1156, page 1156 and 1181 is the sub-theme where the chart is about the exchange of pictures. You
Thank you
can
very
start
much.
narrating from the 8th to the 9th.
Chairperson, I'm now giving my version in relation to pages 1156 to 1181. I would like to prefix it by saying that, but for this document, I would never remember every and anything that was exchanged between the complainant and I. This has been very helpful to me, and somehow, when I address the tribunal, I make it clear that my understanding of what I'm reading here is what it is, and so on and so forth. So, 8th and 9th June 2021, starting at 1156, this is where we start. Those are charts that took place on 8 June 2021. Right on top. I'm not going to read line by line. I will try to skim through and deal with things that are of significance. Somewhere I will deal with, for instance, allegations that there was a rebuff. I will indicate where there's no rebuff. And in fact, as part of this exercise, I will be showing that, contrary to what has been said about there having been 12 no's, 12 not noses, but 12 NOs, I'm going to demonstrate that that statement is not accurate. So This exercise, I submit, is very important in that I may deal with quite a number of topics under it because there's going to be a problem if we have to, there's going to be toing and froing, putting this document aside and going back and so on and so forth. So that's why I'm saying, let me go through this document. What we will see at 1856 at page 1156, the discussion emanates from me having met the complainant at her chambers and having conversed with her. This is where she says, "Thank you, Judge, but I don't understand what we talked about. I'm grateful for the fact that you respect my child." Recall that she did give testimony about our interaction in her office at a time when I had visited her judge. So I respect everyone. Then there was that emoji, much obliged. There is nothing really of significance even at page 1157. So I say at 1902, so how many kids have you been blessed with? She responds, only one. Then I say, oh man. Then I say, girls look after their parents in later life. She responds at page 1158, indeed. So, oh yes. Then she says at 1904, oh yes, she has started already. And then I say, you hear that? What is her age? She is turning 12. I'm at 1159 now. And then I then say the age difference is 16 or 18. And then I put this emoji with a monkey closing its eyes. Likewise, laughingly, and with the same emoji, she says,
JP, can I just ask you to slow down and indicate what time you're talking about when you mention so that the tribunal can follow?
Thank you very much. So at 1905, Honorable Chair and members, did you really calculate that? 1907, after laughing, I say, Sendi Buzanje, I'm just asking. Then she says, I'm 37 years at 1908. Then I exclaim, and then she laughs at this with that emoji. I'm saying, she asked me, am I old? Then I say, you look much younger, Nelizwi lelo sana. The voice is similar to that of a younger lady. And then at 1910, at page 1160, she says younger, not older. Kukuziphatha kakuhle. I behave well or I handle myself well. Ilizwi, then she laughs at that with this emoji. I say lincinci ilizwi. Then she responds at 1910. Then I say, when first I had it, I couldn't believe. Then she says, carry on, I'm listening. This is how I interpret what she's saying. What do you mean, kukuziphatha kakuhle? I'm asking, what do you mean that you are behaving well or you look after yourself? Then, other than what is asked at 1912 at page 1161, there are these eyes and the ear. I'm interested to hear more on this subject. She says, I maintain myself well. Exercises keep me younger. Then I say, keep it that way. She then winks at me at 1915. And then I say, Nzauke ndiyijonge. I will consider it. Then that takes us to 1162. Then I ask, prove your age. In other words, I'm saying, how would you prove your age? This is a chart at 1919 at page 1162. Then the response, in my view, is of significance. She says, my part would be giving you a task. You are the one who wants to consider me, but my part would be to give you a task. Then that takes us to 1163. To ascertain the content, I ask, come out clear how?
Just a minute.
At page 1163.
moving over to 163, yes.
1163, at 1923 and 1924, she responds to my question, how? She then says, a chance for you to look at. Then you determine what you are looking for. Then you determine what you are looking for. Then I say, it's not easy, hey? And then in response at 1925, we've got this monkey covering face emoji. Then I say, truth be told, I have no reason to doubt your word. Then, now that's 1925. Then that takes us to 1164. She then says, that means a lot. It's hard to trust these days. Then there's an invitation. Now, moving forward, I'll be talking about requests for pictures and talks around those things. Who sent who what picture at the level of this chart, which Council has mentioned is a chart of 8 and 9, June 2021. At the same time, I will be pointing to the fact that there is no rebuff at the level of us exchanging or talking about the exchange of pictures. That is what I will endeavor to demonstrate.
164, what?
1164, page 1, at 1927. Then I say, notwithstanding the fact that I had said, truth be told, I have no reason to doubt your word. Maybe a few pictures you send may serve as halfway proof. Then that is a pertinent invitation by me, directed at the complainant, on the topic of pictures, which is what we will be delving into in these next few pages. Maybe a few pictures you send may serve as halfway proof. 1927, 1928. Then, what is their response at 1928? I will try to take more pictures, but currently I lost the most. My phone deleted everything recently. All I wish to highlight is that there is no response that, no, you are not going to get pictures from me. On the contrary, there is a statement that says, I will try to take more, but currently I lost most. My phone deleted everything recently. Then at 1929, I used the magic word high. In other words, for me, when I say high, it was in disbelief that she lost everything. But then I also say at 1930, I'm kidding. Then at 1930, she also says, cool. Then I say, send me few that you've got at 1930.
May I ask you again, JP, to slow down a bit for the tribunal? Thank you.
Thank you, Council. Sorry for the speed.
Yes. We are
So
now,
we're still at 1164. I have mentioned that the response is, I will try to take some pictures and so on. Then 1165. In pursuit of what I had said earlier on, I said, well, few that you've got, the answer is will do. That is not a rebuff. I will do that. She says that at 1930, at 1165. So on the issue of pictures, I will do. Then at 1932, I've got all those emojis there, the one about eyes, the one about tongue sticking out, the one about monkey closing its eyes, and the one with arms on the head. And then at 2017, there being no response from her, I then trigger interaction by saying, hi, you are silent, Chwaka. That's what it means. The response at 2022, once again, is not that I don't like this idea of exchanging pictures with you. On the contrary, she says, oh, buzifuna kwangoku na, oh, you wanted these pictures now? Uxolo, sorry, bendisajima. I was busy exercising. There's a term where they say you read the room, you read the room. In other words, you ascertain what's happening. Then in ascertaining her comfortability about this interaction, I say, if it won't offend, I say that at 2023. And then 2027, I expressed something about the fingers there. I'm saying it would be good if it won't offend. So it's not that I'm riding roughshod, talking to the complainant without engaging her. Her response at 2028 is to wink.
I stop you there, JP. What was your understanding of these chats up to this point? What was your understanding of the wink?
In particular, I understood the wink as somebody who is happy to interact with me on this subject. Winking could mean winking in the true sense. When somebody if I were to step out of this room and a lady were to wink at me, or put it this way, I were to wink at a lady, she would know that there's something about that. But I'm just saying she was winking, and my understanding of that winking was, in broad terms, she was just happy with what we were talking about. Winking is flirtatious.
Apart from this wink, JP, up to so far in your conversation, was there any point at which you doubted whether she was rebuffing you or uncertain or uncomfortable?
No.
Thank you. You may proceed.
2028, I say, wow. Now, when one says wow, there's an element of admiration or awe in response to what somebody does. And allow me, Chairperson, to venture and say, this must have been a response to a picture that she sent. I could never have just said, wow, from the blue. But I'm going to develop this point. Bearing in mind that when one deletes, and insofar as I had been deleting for reasons that will be mentioned, it shows here that Mbenenge deleted. But there's something very strange about the complainant's side of things, is that she does not only delete, but she even deletes the reference to deletion. I'm going to develop that theme within the twinkling of an eye. So I say, whoa, at 2028, and I can't think of anything other than that she must have sent me a picture, and in admiration I said, whoa. Otherwise, I wouldn't say whoa to somebody just winking at me, flirtatious though it is. Then I say kulula umtla. Clearly, that related to a picture that had been sent. When I say kulula umtla, take off your garment or your jacket. Then she responds laughingly, Aziko will try later. I don't have, I will try later. Then I say, please. That is at 2029. So at page 1166, we can only jump to 2028 by way of time. That's where she says, Aziko will try later. That's 2020. Then please, for that assessment, which assessment? the issue about age that we were flattingly talking about. Say please for that assessment, and then poof, 2032. I say stylish. I was addressing the complainant. The complainant had clearly sent me that picture. It was not a status picture. It was not uploaded from her status. It was a picture that she actually sent to me. I say, with this indication, stylish, which is compatible anyway with. And then I was admiring.
Where are we now?
We are at page 1166 at 2032.
At what time?
2032.
Mm, 2030.
2032.
Mm.
That is the that is
JP, can I ask you this so that they follow? Why? Two questions. You make the point that that's not a status picture. Could you explain why you say that and how you say that?
because if we take a picture at random, for instance, at random, let's go to page 1223. And there are many of those, just at random, 1223 of the same document, to show how a status picture commented on looks like. Chairperson, this is a factual issue in relation to which a conclusion could be made with relative ease. Page 1223, could we go to 1223? This is where I demonstrate that if you comment on somebody's status picture, then it must have you status. This one is you, a photo that she sent to me. Not uploaded on a status. She did send a picture to me. That is signified by me saying stylish. But then the problem is we don't see her deleting this, to which I commented stylish. We don't see her do that, which then means she must have deleted that picture. She must have deleted the reference to deleted. I'm going to develop this later on, the way I understood it and the way I see it. So, in any event, stylish. This is me commenting to a picture that she transmitted to me, not a status picture that I commented on. I do from time to time comment on her status pictures because as we were conversing, she would be changing status pictures from time to time. I do comment on those. As we go on, I will be indicating. But one thing that should be emphasized here is this is a photo. It is sent to me by the complainant. And when I say stylish at 2032, I'm commenting on the picture or on a picture that she sent me. So that takes us to 1167. After I had complimented her and said stylish, she too responds at 2033. You got a fine eye too. So stylish, you got a fine eye too. And then when I say for final assessment, which I said earlier on, at 2033, she comments to that by closing her eyes. A monkey closing eyes. Chairperson, we've been talking about this emoji, the one of a monkey closing its eyes. I must readily confess that I am not proficient in the emoji language. I don't have a doctorate on this. I studied English, Afrikaans, and Xhosa up to matric. I did English in my junior degree. I did Latin in my senior degree. So when it comes to emojis, I am like a person who processes things the way she sees them. And I want to address, maybe for the first time, this emoji about somebody closing their eyes or a monkey closing eyes. So I don't want to claim proficiency in emojis, but in my answering affidavit to the JCC, I made it very clear that I understood these emojis that she exchanged with me as being flirtatious. I don't need to go there now, certainly not at this point, because I don't want to mar the waters as I proceed to demonstrate the point that I'm working on. I am a Xhosa man. I would say in Xhosa ndingumXhosa. And I know of something like, on the part of a lady, ukumutsa. I may have my own interpretation of ukumutsa, but I'm happy that, Chairperson, you asked the interpreter to be around.
Maybe she could just tell us what it means
Yes.
from where she is.
We can get the spelling first, Chair. It's
Yes.
UKUMUDZA.
Okay, start again. You.
Mutsa.
UKUMUDZA. Ukumutsa or ukumutsa. Some areas will use the TSA in the end. But if I'm hearing the JP correctly, he's using the pronunciation of the DZA, ukumutsa. He'll correct me if I'm
No,
wrong.
sorry, interpreter. Actually, TSA.
TSA.
From
Right.
a Pondomise Xhosa perspective. I am a
Amamponto.
Pondomise and Ndingujola Istuko. We'll deal with Jola later on as we converse.
Thank you, Chair, for that. Thank you, JP. Therefore, the spelling will be the correct one now. UKUMUTSA.
I defer. Oh, sorry, Chairperson. Chairperson, I said something about ukumutsa. I did not interpret it. I defer to her wisdom in relation to that. I can explain what I understand to be ukumutsa is when you show interest in a lady and in the Xhosa setup, they don't look you in the eye. Bayamutsa. They look down. And when somebody covers face like this, for me, a Xhosa man, that is sufficiently flirtatious. I don't know what interpretation she has about that.
Yeah, give it to us.
I was about to interpret, Chair, and then the JP got in there. The interpretation, even though we will never really honestly have a direct translation, but the interpretation of that is indeed being flirtatious from a female's perspective towards a male.
Thank you, Chair.
JP, is this your understanding of what the two of you were doing?
Yes. At this point, the level was that of exchanging pictures. But I'm infusing this because through and through, there are these emojis, this particular one. And I thought, Council, I should just pause a bit and express myself in relation to that. I'm not good at that language of emojis. I defer to the wisdom of those who said something here. But for me, it is important for the tribunal to understand my perspective and that of the complainant within the context that both of us are Eastern Cape Xhosa speaking people.
On what basis, JP, then did you use? We understand you've said to the tribunal you do not know, most of us don't, what these emojis mean from the expert perspective. What was your understanding of the emojis that you used or that the two of you used when conversing?
As I will demonstrate later as we proceed, these were flirtatious interactions. And Chairperson, I could not resist but check what ukumutsa means. Not for any nefarious reason, but just to check. This is what I found when I Googled. A pretense of shyness or modesty intended to be alluring, typically used by a woman. I'm just referring to that as defined by Google, but the word itself is ukumutsa. And I'm not trifling with this tribunal when I address this aspect. I must say I'm at great pains to have to talk about chats between two adults, consenting adults. It is highly embarrassing for me to have to talk about this, but I am charged with this offense and I must put things in their proper perspective, that these chats were were not wanted and so on. So I'm addressing this particular one within the prism of an African, a Xhosa man interacting with a lady. And I'm shelving for a moment the terminological battle that was waged here by one expert, for instance, endeavoring at best to tell us, probably from a Western perspective, what that means. I distance myself from that. I am the talker here. I'm the one who is addressing the complainant. The complainant is addressing me. Therefore, Chair, I appeal to the tribunal to listen to me as I led by counsel, as I try to demonstrate and navigate this controversial chat, which, as I say, it's got embarrassing parts of it, chats between two adults, chats that were wanted, and no one in this room, if we were to say, let's take your phone, let's see what you were discussing with so and so, they may not be flirtatious, but anyone, Chairperson, who will have, at some point, I say, have to divulge what they were saying, either in the morning or last night. But here the context is flirtatious chats between the complainant and I, and it's something that's embarrassing. Maybe, counsel, it's opportune stage for me to say, these chats surely may have embarrassed many a South African. I don't doubt that. As they do me as I talk now. That is regrettable. I may deal with that maybe later on, but I thought I should address at 1167, this chart. Then when she says, I will try later, at 2037, I say, I will wait. And at 2049, realizing that I'm waiting patiently, I then say, robbed. Now, a lawyer interpreting the word rob will say, we'll go back to the criminal law class where we were told, Chairperson, that theft plus violence is equal to robbery. I think there was something like that when we were in our criminal law classes. But when the word robbed is used here, it is within the context of flirtation, udlala ngam. It was more to express something like, you have been waiting, and then the response to robbed, because rob from a Western perspective could mean quite a number of things. But what we see 4 monkey closing eyes emojis at 2050. Now, the reason why I address this at the level of this one emoji is because this type of emoji or these emojis transcend this document.
And what did they communicate to you?
My understanding was that the complainant was not only playing along, she was happy with the conversation. She never expressed discomfort, as I will show. Up to now, Chairperson, we don't have any no. We were told there are 12 no's. I'll deal with that in due course. So, At 2051, I say ndiqhathiwe, still within the conversation of, because we are dealing here with flirtation, we are not dealing exactly with a romantic relationship. We're just dealing with a flirtatious relationship.
Could you explain that difference? You say to the tribunal it was flirtatious, not romantic. Could you
Yes,
just make that
flirtatious is a playful way of interacting with a person of the opposite sex. It could be initiated by a female towards a male, but flirtation is an informal, joyful, playful way of interacting with a person of the opposite sex. Playful way. A romantic relationship is a romantic relationship. Maybe at the end of my presentation, counsel, through you, it must be clear to all and sundry that this relationship never gravitated to a romantic relationship
Sorry.
in the true sense.
Say that again.
This relationship was a flirtatious relationship with all the levels of flirtation. Some at a low ebb, somewhere, somehow it's deep. It borders on being romantic. But at the end of the day, as I indicated to you, counsel, the intention was to have a romantic relationship with the complainant. So we're talking flirtation now. Chairperson, we are at page 1168, 2051, where I say, "I man on the cartel." In other words, you've robbed me. She responds, and this is this terminological gymnastic that is an interplay between the West and Africa that I'm going to deal with now. Her response is Haini, laughing. Chairperson, the little Sutu Otswana that I know is something where I could score
Could you
5.
just give the time?
Oh, sorry. 2051, when I say in the Katiwe, laughingly she says Haini. And I'm going to deal with that. Thank you, Chairperson.
Sorry, you were beginning to make your attempt at Sutu speaking.
Yes, I know that the Sutu, Tswana, and Pedi, somewhere, somehow, you find that there's a word that covers both, the 3 languages, but I've heard it said, and I may be wrong. You see, where she says Haini laughingly, it is still within the context of flirtation. It is not a rebuff. Let me develop my theme. In Sotho, it would be something like Hebanna. Is there such a thing, Chairperson? I've heard it.
Ask the interpreter.
Hebanna.
I am 100% Xhosa speaking, but I found myself saying, but who?
But who?
It is an exclamation. That's what I'm trying to say. The Haini does not necessarily say no, but it's an expression of an exclamation.
All right. JP, let's speak to closer.
As to Hebana,
I'm
not certain.
Yeah. Batung, but I've heard Batung. I've heard Batung, by the way. I've heard Hebanna. Let me stick to Xhosa. When somebody says...
But sorry, the interpreter you mentioned, Ebanna. What did you say?
When it comes to Hebana, because of it's not my first language, but I've always heard colleagues when there's a particular conversation, out of being surprised or out of being shocked in whatever it is that we're talking about, then you hear someone saying, Heban.
Yeah, well, that's accurate.
JP, can I ask
I
you?
hear about Batung as well.
Yes.
Is this an expression of annoyance?
Not at all. There are 3 laughing emojis there. In a conversation between a man and a woman, and I'm not claiming any expertise here, but I'm an adult male Xhosa person. Within the context of an interaction, when you say Hayini, and there is this laughing emoji. You can simply imagine somebody saying ayini and laughing at the same time. But this is not a rebuff. I am going to show why I say it's not a rebuff within the twinkling of an eye. And then at 2052, I say unamaqhinga, which is uyandiqhatha, which means, as I said earlier on, you are robbing me. Then she says, at 2052, uyabona ndiyenzile obuyifuna. You see, I have done what you asked me to do, which lends confirmation to what I said earlier on, which is that she did send me a picture. Uyabona ndiyenzile obuyifuna, and she does that laughingly. Then in response to unamaqhinga, she says, at 2053, end it.
What did you understand this to mean?
It is in keeping in our culture with somebody who is not going to necessarily express it, but as we know, no man in our culture will say, when I proposed love to X, they said yes at the outset. As I understand it, this is a game between a male and female.
Well,
They will start off by saying hi for that matter, and any married man here will tell us that, yo, wandisokolisa ke lo mfazi.
to mean?
Which means she gave me a hard time, this woman.
Now, I'm just talking about a married man on purpose. I'm talking culture now. I'm a Xhosa man. Even before you say end it, it is understood in an interaction where you show interest in someone that you're not going to get yes as early as yesterday.
JP, the expert made attempts at this point on all of these to give you advice about this, that at this point she would have advised you, or you should know that the person is not saying yes or is not agreeing. You should.
That does not find support from the context of this interaction which I've unfolded. I'm just saying, even if she had not said end it, it would be implicit in a conversation between a man and a woman, be it a woman who is eyeing a man or be it the other way around, that there's an element of ending it. So, but when she says end it, it is earth-shattering. Then it means I must roll my sleeves and prepare myself for this. Things are not going to be easy. And it is an invitation. I couldn't understand it differently. I still don't. When a woman to whom you've shown interest says end it, it means end it. Isebenzele.
Well,
I
all I
thought
was
that was
saying
the
to
word
you is,
that was used, the misinterpreter. Isebenzele, end it.
It's end it.
but the expert was saying, forget that cultural prism or understanding of yours. By now, you should not have proceeded.
I don't necessarily appreciate the perspective of one from the Western culture imposing their thinking on us as Africans. In any event, if you're talking about the expert, Miss Lisa Vetten,
Yes, I am.
admittedly, she's never even been to the Eastern Cape. She never interacted with the complainant and I. She was just developing a thesis. I'm just talking from the perspective of being the person who interacted within the context of my culture.
Okay.
I defer to what she says. She may write books, such as many have done, but I'm wary of notions and concepts from the West that are imposed on us as Africans. So, 1169, end it, you are tricky. that statement, in my view, is inconsequential. She laughs. But when I say you are tricky, she says, it's part of the task that I have given you. 2054, page 1169. Then,
What do you say to the interpretation imposed again that when you say to someone here, you are tricky, you are calling them a trickster?
not at all within our culture. The word tricky, for instance, even in common parlance, especially lately with Model C and all those things, does not necessarily impute trickiness of a trickster necessarily. When somebody says you are tricky, they are saying, well, I don't follow exactly what you are saying. I'm just talking in general terms, Johannesburg or East London or Umtata or wherever else. But fact of the matter is, when you say somebody is tricky, you are not necessarily imputing unbecoming conduct on them. Certainly not within the context of this discussion.
You can even speak of a tricky question
Yes.
in the exam.
Thank you, Chair. I am expecting that even in the courts of law, counsel who have now become very liberal, we will hear things like, my lord, the question you've put to me is tricky. We are soon going to hear that term being used. But I fully understand what the chairperson has said, and I fully associate myself with him in the notion that he is interpreting. So it says part of the task, you are tricky, part of the task. I am reminded here that, remember, your task is to consider me. Look at what you want from me. Now, any man seated here being told, ndijonge, ukhangele le nto uyifunayo kum. Could you interpret that, ma'am?
Look at me and find that which you want from me.
That would not only be flirtatious, but it would be, I submit, an advance by a woman. And even in the Xhosa culture, it's not something that can necessarily be looked down upon. Perhaps before I drown on these cultural issues, I'm not an expert. This is just me addressing the tribunal from the bottom of my heart. I'm trying my best to be candid in how I understood what was happening here. So part of the task, something I deleted, she then says will do. In other words, chairperson, at 2055 at page 1169, if we go back to the earlier thing that I said, go halfway now, she still repeats, I will do. We're on the lookout for the 12 rebuffs. Is it 12 or 16?
12.
12. Then I allocate a mark, I say 50%. She expresses herself the way she does at 2057. I'm not going to repeat that. 50%, 1170. And then, poof, at 2110, 1170. Yazi ba mna xa ndifuna imali uzawundinika. You see, in all this interaction, in all this request that you are making, you must also know that when I want money from you, you will give it to me.
What did you understand this other request or demand or statement to mean?
I understood this statement to be part of bargaining with me within the context of what we were discussing. You know? At a certain level, it's got to do with the fact that, yes, I am not surprised that there is that emoji there where there is a monkey closing eyes, but she did express herself the way she did. And I understood her to be saying, well, let's be transactional a bit. You want pictures, I want money from you. I don't want to sound unfair towards the complainant and say she's a money monger. I want to use this within the context of flirtation and nothing beyond that level. I don't want to accuse her of being a money monger. It is for that reason when I say, life is not about money, she says, I know, or ndiyaphosisa, she then says truth. So I don't want to read much into that beyond saying there was flirtation, and this hardly constitutes a rebuff.
Well, the complainant on this point, and I will take the tribunal, this says she knew that by mentioning this, a man would run away. So it's a no, it's a rebuff. It's to make sure that you walk away from.
That's too presumptuous.
She says so.
Yes, I'm saying it's presumptuous for one to believe that. So sorry, I'm using my hands as if I'm pointing at somebody. So sorry for that, Chairperson. I don't want to necessarily agree with that when somebody says, if you want money, then you must know you will give it to me. I don't necessarily see that as a rebuff. I just see that as being transactional, as part of the flirtation.
Okay.
For that matter, persons who flirt or persons who end up in a romantic relationship will do each other favors. I'm just talking favors purely at the level of, I need this and that. Could you please, do you have this sum of money, 20 rand? I want to buy sugar or whatever else. So, speaking for myself, I never understood it to be a rebuff. I say it is, in fact, not a rebuff. I also don't want to impute unbecoming conduct on her part as if she is a money monger. I mention this purely at the level of us playing. Remember, flirtation is playing. It has got this jovial mood about things. It has got idioms. It has got words that must be explained by whoever is uttering them, as we will see as we move along. That is my answer to the question whether that constituted a rebuff. I never understood the expert to have been saying it was a rebuff. I understood her to be saying it could be seen that way. I understand also what the complainant said, which is that, well, I knew if I mention money, he's going to run away, but it's not a rebuff. You don't, no, not all men will run away anyway. I'm not claiming expertise on this, but I'm just using my logic and common sense.
Yeah, fly along.
Thank you. Chairperson, then we have this earth-shattering statement. Yaziba mna xa ndifuna imali uzawundinika. So be it. Grant her that. 1170, truth, life is not about money. And then I say, hey, it's taking a bit longer. Maybe you are still taking some photos, which I deleted, but which she uplifted. But she is laughing, and she has got this emoji that I have explained earlier on. Well, I said, well, I don't know. And then 35%, ayini sundiqhatha. This is where I say, also, this is not a rebuff. I'm still using it in the context of what I said earlier on, which is that, come on, don't cheat me. Don't cheat on me. When somebody says sundiqhatha, it means don't cheat on me. But once again, if you look at the
Before
context,
you are misunderstood the word cheating in English and Western.
yeah, it can
notions,
be.
man.
It can be.
Could
a
you
bit
please
rough.
explain
Yeah.
what? Yeah.
Ayini sundiqhatha, don't be tricky. Maybe I could use that. Sundiqhatha, I don't know whether to say don't pull wool over my face or something like that. But it relates to me allocating her 35%. In this interaction, which is flirtatious, I'm granting you 35%, you are left with 65%, and so on and so forth. But it's not a
Where are
rebuff.
we?
We are at page 1171. Sorry, Chairperson. Ayini sundiqhatha, and there I say,
JP, can I ask you again? I know I've been asking you slow. Mention the time so that.
thank you, sorry for moving fast. Chairperson, we're at page 1171. Ayini, laughingly, sundiqhatha. Hey, banna, or hey, chini madoda. or something like "Heake." Those are all terms that we could use as Xhosa-speaking persons.
Can I hear maybe for the benefit of everyone, the interpreter tell us?
You want a different one, Council?
No, I want the one from an expert, not him.
Ayini falls under the list of exclamations. Eage, kini, haibo, you. There's quite a few.
Meaning,
They all express a sense of excitement over whatever you've heard, or a bit of shock mixed with a bit of excitement in between. It's never really on the negative. It's one that might be a bit heavier if someone has passed on and you receive the news to say so and so had passed on, then you will hear them saying, yeah, okay. That's now a sense of grief that was unexpected. That is something that was not expected. That's how I would separate it from excitement and as well as receiver of bad news. I hope I'm making sense, Chair.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chairperson. Thank you, Council. I won't distance myself from the articulation by the interpreter. To simply say Hayini is plural, Hayi, and terminologically, it doesn't mean no, it's not a rebuff, as has been articulated by the interpreter. It's as if you are addressing many people when you say Hayini. Then Unamaqhinga, and then at 1172, she says, but surely this is far from half of it all. Sorry, that's me talking. This is far from half of it all. Actually, it's 70%.
Repeat again where we are.
1172, sorry,
time.
Council. 1172, Chairperson and honorable members. Then I say
The time?
the time is 21:26.
Thank you.
I hate to be wiser after the event, but I can't help but believe, because I don't want to be artificial when I testify and be somebody who reconstructs a scene. But if I say actually it's 70% when adding the other one, so surely in my view, there were about 2 pictures that had been sent. I've demonstrated that one was sent. The trace of that one having been sent was deleted, but fortunately I commented on it. It's not a status picture. Then follows when I say the other one was a non-starter and you know it. This is me interacting with her more in relation to the pictures. Then she says, Aibo, Jesu. Now once again,
What did you mean, JP?
when I said what?
The other one was a non-starter.
I may have been expressing dissatisfaction with a picture, maybe that was uploaded from her status and sent to me, because I may have been requiring special attention where one sends me a picture and I send her a picture.
Okay.
Remember, Chairperson, through you, Council, I will try my best not to reconstruct. I will try myself to be as sincere as possible, because this happened a long time ago. And as I said earlier on, but for this which was uplifted by Mr. Mola, I would have been at a loss, as I did when I tried responding to the complaint itself. So that's a mere exclamation. And then I send her some picture. The two of us converge insofar as we say there's nothing peculiar about it. And then she laughs at it. Maybe it was somebody who was doing a dance. I don't know.
Where are you now?
I'm at page 1173 at 2133. Then that is laughed at 2141 by her. Then I say, bendilinde wena ngengoma. Bendilinde wena ngengoma.
What did you
Now,
mean?
stemming from a Xhosa idiom, umfundisi ulindwa